Command believes that an enemy attack is imminent somewhere in 1st Motor Rifle Company's area of responsibility. In anticipation of this threat, Flight 201 will take off immediately and proceed to an airborne alert area to await tasking from forward air controllers. Welcome aboard my Mi-24P Hind. As enumerated in the briefing, our mission for today is on-call close air support. I'll just finish a few little items to prepare the aircraft for flight. We'll get underway and I'll explain a little bit more once we're in the air. So, about all we need to do is, for one, turn on the obligatory fan, have Porfiry Petrovich up front warm up the weapon systems, generally set up the armament panel and the gun sight. I like to have a little bit of contrast between the fixed reticle and the target reticle in here, so that's all set up very nicely. Lights are already off. Tell you what, I don't like to use the pitch and roll channels, so I'll shut those off. We'll trim the aircraft for hover and ground effect, and lift off gently. Obviously taking care to avoid the trees to our front, the main hazard. Keep lifting. Once we're well clear of those, I'll start transitioning to forward flight. Bring the landing gear up and start getting her trimmed. So our initial heading out to the airborne alert area is about 258. So just a slight turn to starboard required there. So yeah, that's probably something I can start with in terms of explaining the details of the mission, is the route. So we fly heading of about 258 out to the airborne alert area here. At that point, we will get in contact with the battalion forward air controller, who will talk us on to any potential enemy targets in the actual combat area. So I'll level off at probably about 80 meters, should keep us clear of pretty much any obstacles on the way in. Highest things around here tend to be power lines, and they tend not to be quite that high. So those are effectively our two waypoints. We have the airborne alert area and 1st Motor Rifle Company's battle position, since that's where we are expecting to see action today. In terms of the armament that the aircraft is carrying, if we look out onto the pylons here, we are carrying 8 Attacker tandem heat anti-tank guided missiles and a pair of rocket pods with S8 OFP-2 rockets, and also a full load of ammunition for the cannon. That being said, well, I'll get to weapon employment when it comes to tactics. So in terms of preparation for battle, we're already warming up the weapons, lights are off. I'll set up our flare profile. We'll do a series of 16, dispensing them every 2 seconds. We're going to be using flares very, very generously on this mission. The aircraft carries a lot, so it's a good thing to do. And in terms of tactics for this mission, we're going to stay generally over or behind friendly positions to mitigate the risk from enemy anti-aircraft weapons. We're going to keep the range open as much as possible, so we're going to use our ATGMs first, only using the rockets and the cannon if we need to. And I'm going to be running my flare program pretty much continuously anytime that we would even theoretically be exposed to enemy fire. And I think that should keep the various risks down, so I think that's about all I had in terms of description of the mission, so we'll proceed to the alert area. 201, Zarya. Proceed immediately to 1st Motor Rifle Company's position. The enemy is on the move. Details to follow. Welcome back. We've just about reached the airborne alert area, and there it is. Zarya, which is the battalion forward air controller, says to proceed immediately to 1st Motor Rifle Company's battle position. The enemy is on the move. Details to follow. Alright, so our heading over to there is going to be about 290, give or take. The general direction of the smoke on the horizon. So we'll proceed in that direction with all possible speed. And we should get some amplifying remarks here shortly. And that's us pretty much on the correct track. 201, Zarya. An enemy assault group mounted on MRAPs and supported by tanks is moving east from the industrial area, along the forest belt. Their target appears to be 2nd Recon Platoon's position. Locate and engage. So, enemy assault group mounted on MRAPs and supported by tanks is moving east from the industrial area along the forest belt. Target appears to be 2nd Recon's battle position. Locate and engage. So, the industrial area is this marked area of interest here. They're moving east along the forest belt, so like this way. So we'll have a look at that. 2nd Recon is in this forest clump here. That should be pretty identifiable. We should be able to pick out that target. So let's have a look. Yeah, I can see the industrial area. I can see the forest clump. And I can see a cloud of dust moving along the tree line. I'm going to say that is the enemy. So, Petrovich, let's get eyes out there. We seem to have a good line of sight from this altitude, so I see no reason to get any higher. I'll start my flare profile pretty soon. So, we have APCs and tanks. Tanks would seem to be priority targets. So, target tank. Let's see. Target's being lost behind the trees. We might need to take a different angle then. I'll adjust my position. Starting my flare profile now. I'll just do a bit of an S-turn and turn back in. We might not have a lot of choice in terms of attack direction. As long as we... Although, we can attack from the east as long as we stay behind 2nd Company's position. So, I suppose we can do that. Stay low and then pop back up. It occurs to me, actually, that it might make sense to engage the APCs first, because if they're the maneuver element, then they're going to be the ones closing with our friendly positions. So we should probably actually eliminate them first, and then go for what I'm assuming is the base of fire element, which will be the tanks. So, pretty much over 2nd Company's position here. We'll pop up to maybe... Well, the ground's pretty flat. We don't need to get very high. Start my flare profile again. Petrovich, get your scope out. Scanning to our front. Slow down a bit so that we're not closing the distance too much. Whenever you feel like it. Okay, that might not have gone through before. Yeah, we are getting kind of close, so we'll only fire one missile on this run. APC, target. Also losing it behind the trees. Yeah, that's really not ideal. I'm going to break off and make a second run. We're getting too close to the enemy. Pop through this gap in the trees. My flare profile should still be going, so that's alright. Put on some speed, open up the distance, then come back. Alright, that's far enough. Re-engage. I'm conscious that we don't have a lot of time in here. They're getting quite close to 2nd Recon's position. Okay, I might be able to take a bit of cover behind this forest belt here. That's vaguely helpful. So get ourselves trimmed. Petrovich. Yeah, those are starting to engage friendlies with their machine guns. So engage the closest one, I guess. They seem to have gone into line formation. Fire! Keep flare profile going. Fucker. Fire, please. Anytime. Damn it, break off. Petrovich kind of let me down there. Those are probably almost in position and dismounting their infantry in front of friendly positions. We have no more time to waste here. It might actually be necessary to get in and hit them with the rockets just to have the sufficient area effect. I'll maybe fire a single ATGM, then close in with the rockets. It's risky, but I don't have a lot of choice given the situation. So, flares. Level. Yeah, they've stopped. They're probably dismounting right now. Oh, we're too close. We are way too close. Alright, that's one APC down. Close in. We're going to hit him with the rockets. So close as to be taking machine gun fire. That's kind of the situation I wanted to avoid, but, well, battle doesn't always go the way you hope. So, what kind of damage did we do? Knowing what rockets are like, I'm probably about to be disappointed. So, one burning, presumably the one we hit with the missile. The other two are blocked behind the trees. Another one burning. Looks like one survivor in the middle. Okay, I'll hit that with an ATGM, then we'll go after the tanks. Okay, I think that's the distance opened up far enough, so come on up. We don't really actually need to climb that much. And probably shouldn't do if we don't need to. It's, flying lower will necessarily be more likely to be masking us from potential threats. So, target, APC, fire. Kind of hoping it hits in time for me to duck behind these trees is my path of egress. Target destroyed. Okay, that's the enemy's maneuver element dealt with. So now we will focus on their tanks, which seem to be hanging back in a support by fire position. Now the tanks are actually pretty threatening to us because their main gun rounds and barrel-launched and potential barrel-launched ATGMs can really reach out and touch us out to a pretty long distance. So we're going to want to make maximal use of the standoff range offered by our attack and missiles here. So I will separate once again to the east, and we'll turn back in. All right. Recommitting. Up we go. Let's see. There's first recon's position. There's the destroyed enemy maneuver element. Petrovich. What do you see? I'll slow right down to keep the range open as we acquire our target. The Mi-24 doesn't really like to shoot from a hover, and that can be kind of a dangerous thing to do when there's an ATGM threat anyway, so I'm not too fussed. Missile away. I'll make it one missile per attack run so that we're not closing unnecessarily with the enemy. Flare profile. If I actually used all my expendables, it's possible. Target destroyed, break off, and reset. Head generally southeast, masking behind these convenient forest belts as we go. And that's probably far enough. Turn back in. Kind of need to not pull back on the stick too much, actually, because we don't really need to climb a whole lot when we're fighting on such flat ground. There is not a lot of terrain for either us or the enemy to hide behind, so standoff is my protection. Okay, that range is pretty good and open. We might be able to actually hit 2 on this run, so that might be me being a bit foolhardy. Fire! Yeah, I'll reduce speed. I think I feel pretty safe behind these trees, so if I can get both missiles off in that time, I'll feel pretty good about it. Target destroyed. Target tanked. That should be the last one. Fire. Hit my flare button, but again, I think I've actually used them all. Well, I guess that's where the limit is. Find it actually difficult to use all my expendables in this aircraft, but there we go. Target destroyed. Nothing else observed. Short range SAM, I don't think I really want to tangle with that though. Yeah, forward air controller reports the enemy assault group has been eliminated and we are cleared to RTB. I'm not going to try and tangle with that short range SAM. I'm not sure I can actually outrange it, and it's probably a good ways behind the lines anyway, so not really what we're here for. So egress generally sort of east-southeast. We don't really need to return directly to the alert area. We can probably just head directly back to the FARP we took off from. Fly about 120 for now until I'm convinced we're well away from any threats. And stay nice and low in the process. Low and fast. Over these trees, back down into the field. Lovely. Well, I think that is definitely our mission more or less complete. We have probably taken some superficial battle damage. We took some hits from machine guns, but probably nothing that can't be patched. Anyway, I will proceed back to the FARP. Just grab a heading. About 092, and we'll make our way back there. welcome back. That is the FARP we took off from just over there. I've already started slowing down so that we can land there. There's basically no wind to speak of at the moment, so we can theoretically land in any direction we want. I'll just land facing the trees, same way we were facing when we took off. That way any potential danger is, well, visible in front of me. So gear down. And we will slowly decelerate. The Mi-24 likes to be decelerated slowly when it comes to landing and handled in a relatively sedate fashion. It's not really so good at your high-speed, violent combat landings. The aircraft being narrow with a bit of a high center of gravity kind of likes to tip over if you're not careful, so we'll be careful. Okay, so arrest that lateral motion. It's probably not that big a deal if we make a bit of a rolling landing, but in the interests of being precise and doing things in an elegant way, I will do spot landing to the best of my ability. So arrest all motion and let her settle on gently. And we're down. Okay, I should have let the collective down a little bit quicker once we were on the ground there. But nevertheless, mission is complete. We have returned to base. We destroyed the enemy maneuver element and the base of fire element supporting it. So yeah, now that we've landed, actually, I'll see if I can spot where any of that battle damage was. I think it's on, yeah, it's on the starboard stub wing there. Well, hopefully no great damage was done, and that can be repaired easily enough. Anyway, I hope this mission has been at least vaguely interesting, and I will be back, most likely, with more missions like it in the relatively near future. Toodles.